recap of Trinidad Bhojpuri words and phrase. In this episode, we recap the words PATANG, NAGAARA, Koi BACHAAO HUMKE, PARAAWAT, and PACHOUNEE. Let's go catch up with Vinay of the Cutlass magazine.
So this is the sari. Right, they're doing it like this, right? The mashing up so.
I'm Karen Das.
And I'm Vinay Harrichan from the Cutlass magazine.
Nice to see you again, Vinay. We had a good week. I mean, this past week was just really fun. We had lots of interaction, and folks really caught on to these words. Well, of course, there's always that one word.
Yeah.
But we'll jump into that in this recap. So let's get started with PATANG. PATANG. Now, how many of you immediately went back to that 70s Bollywood flick Kati PATANG with Rajesh Khanna, Asha Parikh? Good movie. But it seemed like an appropriate word because of the season. It's a popular and fun family tradition, especially for the Easter holidays, and it's quite breezy around this time of the year. So PATANG.
And as we know, Patang typically corresponds to this tradition of kite flying that we have for Easter in the Caribbean. And also kite flying is a very popular custom in India as well. But yes, Patang generally is just the Hindustani word for kite. And I'm curious to actually know there are a couple words that might be associated with Patang because the people who create their own kites or their own Patang traditionally, they might be familiar with the manj or the rasam that you have to use to kind of coat the string for the Patang. So if anyone who does go about making a kite the traditional way, I'm curious if they still, use those methodologies.
Oh, wonderful. Yes, please let us know. You can leave a comment below. We went on to another familiar word, NAGAARA. NAGAARA, not to be confused with Nagar, which people we usually say here in Trinidad. NAGAARA. So messages went from a type of drum, a style of a folk dance, a rhythm. Many identified NAGAARA to be a tassa hand.
Yes, exactly. And so within the Indo-Caribbean context, I would say that Nagara within context can refer to three different things. There's the hand that you'll play for tassa, the Nagara hand, which like Chowbola, for example, is a hand that you play, a drum rhythm that you play, typically for Hindu weddings. And so Nagara exists in that context as a drum hand or a drum rhythm. And there's also what we know as the Nagara dance, which is also referred to as the Ahirwa Ke Nach or bareback dance, which is something that the Ahir people or the people who would mine cattle or cows, they would do this very sort of brash and masculine dance along with the Nagara drum. And we'll show videos of it, but I think some people might still be familiar with that custom at weddings. So there's the dance, there's the drum rhythm, and then there's the actual drum. And I'm sure we'll throw up a picture of what the drum looks like, but it's a bowl-shaped drum. It's wide at the top than at the bottom. It's covered with goat skin, and that drum is also referred to as the Nagara drum. And so drum type of dance and then also drum rhythm. And as you mentioned, people shouldn't get it confused with Nagar or Nagara, which is the Hindustani word for town or village. Nagara has that long A in the second half.
Yes. And a lot of Trinis say Diwali Nagar or Diwali Nagar, but really Diwali Nagar. So that's important for us to really specify. Nagara has nothing to do with Nagar. All right. So Nagara and is palatal ra. So Nagara is, you're right, as you all said. So well done, everybody. And some are familiar with that dance. And as Vinay mentioned, here are some videos.
And then time in with the Nagara, potton bucket, potton bucket, potton bucket, that's the beat. You see them just they dance in circles, right? And then individual dancers also do. So they have a way they do like this. When they put it here, they're going to do the cotton dance. And they go wrong like that. And that's how that's Nagara.
Now we move on to our Trinidad Bhojpuri phrase for the week. Oh my goodness, BACHAAO. Everybody should know the BACHAAO in almost every Bollywood movie, especially from the 60s or the 70s, even parts of the 80s. BACHAAO, BACHAAO. So, Koi BACHAAO Humke was our Trinidad Bhojpuri phrase for the week.
Yeah, so this is a phrase you might say in exasperation, and it means someone save me, someone please save me. Humke meaning something done to you, koi meaning someone, anybody, anyone, and bachao being the Hindustani verb for to save, and you're commanding somebody to save you. So there's a lot of people who are familiar with the 60s, 70s, those films. When you see, an actor running down the actress or some lady in the village, they might be yelling, "Bachao, bachao, koi bachao, someone help me." And so
Mhm.
this is definitely a really nice phrase that I'm sure many people can use jokingly.
Yeah, so not just when a damsel is in distress, and it's you somebody save me or somebody just help me. So here in Trinidad, we would say, "Oh gosh, just help me out here." So it's a nice phrase that we can use. Koi bachao humke, simply bachao humke, koi bachao humke. I love
Mhm.
it. I love it. We went on to another word, parawat. Parawat. Okay, so this was a curious one. Now I can see why some people would say mountain because it sounds a lot like Parvat.
Mhm.
Parawat. If I say it fast enough, like Parawat, 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 it sounds like parrot.
Yeah.
Um, but it doesn't seem to be as common as the previous word. So how did you come up with this one, Parawat?
Yeah, so I had known that kabutar is a very popular word used in our Hindustani, in standard Hindi, standard Urdu, but I had come across the fact that it actually has Persian roots. And I
Mhm.
know that our Hindustani dialect can sometimes follow more of the Sanskrit origins as opposed to the Persian Arabic influences that would have seeped in over time throughout India. A lot of the smaller dialects, like dialects from the smaller villages, maybe would not have had that same degree of language influence from outside of India. So I thought, well, kabutar has Persian roots. There must be another word that has more of a Sanskrit origin that could
Mhm.
potentially be used. And so asked some people in my family, I asked around to some friends, and I heard from people in my family as well as other people I interview that they were familiar with parawat. And parawat comes from the Sanskrit word paravat. And as we know, that V oftentimes in Sanskrit can turn into W in Hindustani. So Diwali becomes Diwali. So paravat becomes parawat. And the thing that I found interesting about this is that I heard someone very young from South Trinidad mention that they had heard it. I heard an older person from San Juan say that they knew the word and that they knew it more commonly than kabutar. So I thought this would be a nice way to learn about a much older word that might be preserved in our dialect, but
Yes.
potentially would have died out elsewhere.
Oh, wow. So now we can add this
Mm.
to kabutar, and so we have a synonym.
Yes, exactly.
Parawat. I love it. Well done. So thank you. Many who messaged commented, and I think it was really based on the hint.
Mhm.
Um, but I wanted to, that's it. I love it. So pigeon. So now we know a new word, which was actually an old word for
Mhm.
pigeon. And we wrapped it the week with a full tummy, at least for those who enjoyed this particular type of food talk, Trinidad Bhojpuri food related word, pachounee.
Mhm.
So we had goat, some said goat guts, goat belly, goat intestines. Some even said they
Mhm.
used pigs or sheep.
Yeah.
Um, I think it was Nalini in Suriname. They call it, I think it was tikne.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
mhm.
Yeah, so Pachounee we thought would be a good word for this time of year, especially with Ramadan and a lot of Muslims who might be breaking their roja or their fasting with a
Mhm.
dish like Pachounee. And so Pachounee actually comes from the word Pachounee, which typically just translates to stomach. And so it could be pig, it could be goat, but I think in the context that we know in Trinidad and the Caribbean, it most often is associated with goat, and that's obviously because Muslims would not eat pachounee made from pork. So
Mhm.
contextually, we know it as goat belly, goat guts, goat intestines, and typically it's fried and, they bunge it down and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And it's a dish that might be used commonly to break roja or break fasting.
A lot of curry, a lot of pepper, and it's something as well, not just for the break of fast, but a lot of people when they go on excursions and stuff and they have this, they take it with them. It's a nice little thing that it sometimes can be used as an appetizer, I guess. As vegetarians, know nothing about that, but it really is a very popular word. And everybody got that right and stimulated a lot of conversation and probably stimulated a lot of digestive juices. But we went really well with this week of Trinidad Bhojpuri words and phrase. So well done, everybody. Now, if you'd like to get in touch with Vinay at the Cutlass, here's how you do so.
Yes, you can just follow me at Cutlass Magazine on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, or feel free to send me a message, cutlassmagazine@gmail.com.
Well, we hope you enjoyed this weekly recap of Trinidad Bhojpuri Words and Phrase. This has been a KDC production in collaboration with the Cutlass Magazine. Special thanks to Caribbean Hindustan.